Good morning, class. Today we will continue with the topic of trademarks and trademark disputes on the internet. And I'll quickly do a review on what we had done in the last lecture. Basically, we looked at the foundation of trademark law. And basically, if you ask the question, when you're doing a business, do you really need trademarks? The answer is, of course, yes. Then the next question would be, what is the function or purpose of a trademark? And of course, as you can see, the main function would be for businesses that are similar, they're dealing with similar goods and services. You need to have a trademark that would distinguish one business product or service from another. So, of course, in that context, trademarks become a distinguishing feature which help consumers make choices which they think will relate to quality, will relate to particular, distinctive uh, aspects of a particular goods or service. So trademarks then become a key feature that allows consumers to make choices based on, perhaps their experience in utilizing a particular goods or service. Okay. Now, if you look at the main role of trademarks in, after industrialization, you can see that it has become very important when you actually deal with market oriented economies and specifically in the context of international trade. Okay, so you can see that in a way it also allows competition, in the marketplace and for different businesses in the international market to actually place their goods and services and then compete in the market, and their trademarks, if it becomes successful, will become something of an asset to that particular business. Not only an asset to that business, but also it becomes something that is of economic benefit to the country as well. Now, if you look at some of the functions of trademarks, all right, you will see that it actually has an individualizing function as well as a distinguishing function. Individualizing meaning it has something unique. The sign or symbol has got something unique, and also it distinguishes that particular product or service from its competitors. So basically, the trademark is used in connection to a particular goods or service, which is associated with a proprietor, right? And therefore, it is very, very important. Now, if you look at the next thing, let's see. Okay. If you look at the overall five functions, okay, they are as follows. Okay, you will see that it provides exclusive rights or protection to the person who is the proprietor or owner of that trademark. So once you register the trademark, you get exclusive rights as well as legal protection in relation to particular goods or services, which would mean that other businesses cannot use that trademark in relation to similar goods or services. The second function would be a distinguishing function, as I pointed out before. And then the third function is that of quality, meaning a particular product that uses a particular trademark. Now, through time, consumers may associate a particular trademark with quality. Okay, so that would become a secondary function because it arises through time, right? And the third function is for advertising purposes. Okay, when you want to advertise your goods or service, you would want to use a particular trademark so that it is connected to your business. And then finally, And most importantly, if a particular trademark becomes uh, famous and is associated with quality, that would mean that more and more consumers would want to buy your product or use your service. The more people buy your product or services, then that particular trademark on its own is going to acquire some form of value, and therefore it will become an asset to that particular business. So once it becomes an asset, you can actually license that product or franchise that product. uh, uh, that I'm sorry, you can license that trademark or franchise that particular trademark. Okay, so those are the five functions of trademarks. Okay, now we looked at those, right? And if you look at the trademark protection in Malaysia, there was recently a new law that was implemented in 2019. The original law was 1976, and there were lots of changes made under the new law. And one of the most important change was that right now there is a provision for international trademark registration. Now, previously, under the old act, there wasn't that provision, meaning that when you register a trademark in Malaysia, the protection was only available in Malaysia. But now that Malaysia has signed on to the Madrid Protocol system, our new act has allowed a provision whereby if you register a trademark in Malaysia, you automatically get international trademark protection for all the 122 member countries that are also members or have become signatories of the Madrid Protocol system. All right, and this means that a particular business will not or do not have the need to register in the other countries. Automatically, by registering in Malaysia, you have got trademark protection in these member countries, which means the cost will considerably lessen in terms of registering, in the international platform. Okay. Now, the other unique changes in the new act is that there's also recognition for non-conventional trademarks. And what are these non-conventional trademarks? Things like shapes, sounds, color, scents, etc., are now allowed to be under the what do you call it, protection of trademarks. Okay, now of course this would mean that there's going to be the scope of the trademark protection is going to be much broader than before, right? And then also another new feature is what you call multi-class filings that will be allowed under the new act, and this is directly because under the Madrid uh, protocol, they allow multi-class filings. What does that mean? Normally, previously, a particular business, when you register a trademark, it is related to a single product. But now you can have a range of products under a particular trademark. So that is why they call it multi-class filings. And under the new act, that is also allowed, right? There's also lots of changes in terms of what would constitute an infringing trademark, and when basically a legal action is brought, what has to be shown to show that a particular trademark is infringing on the rights of the owner, right? So what has to be proven under that particular case, there has been changes in relation to that, all right? So basically, you have to show that the infringing of that trademark has taken place in relation to the same goods or services, right? That is very important. So that means if another business uses your trademark for a different category of goods or services, it will not be considered to be, confusing or identical because they are in relation to different goods or services. Okay, now, so these are some of the changes, right? Now, one of the things you have to know is that basically, when you register for a trademark, when you first register for a trademark, the registration will be for a period of 10 years from the date that you apply for registration, right? And then it will be renewed for a further period of 10 years. All right. So you can see that you can continue to renew your trademark, right? And you have to be careful not to forget to renew your trademark, because the moment you do not renew your trademark, automatically that trademark will be removed from the register, and somebody else can actually use that trademark after that. So you have to be very careful to actually to continue renewing your trademark. Now, as you can see, basically, what are the types of marks that are registrable? All right. It can be a name of an individual, it could be a name of a company or a firm, represented in a particular manner. All right. So, for example, if you want to talk about, say, McDonald's, all right. So, the way the M is written, all right, it would be in a particular manner with a particular color, right? So, it's very distinctive, right? So, that could be the name of an individual, company, or firm. But the important thing is it is represented in a unique or distinctive manner, right? And then you can also register as a trademark a signature, right? An invented word or words, right? But important thing is the word does not have any reference to the character or quality or a geographical name. And then finally, it could be a distinctive mark, right? So the most important thing is the consumers are able to distinguish this particular trademark from other trademarks, right? And the most important thing is it is distinctive. If it is not distinctive, all right, then it will not be registrable, all right, unless you can show that through the years, this particular mark has become distinctive through usage, right? Okay, now what is a distinctive character, right? It basically means that the trademark shall be capable of distinguishing goods or services, all right, which is connected to that particular proprietor or connected to the course of trade from goods or services. That means that particular mark is associated through time in the course of a particular business. The consumers have begun to associate that particular mark with that particular goods or service because through time consumers have connected that mark with that business, right? But if there's no such connection, all right, you or if it's not distinctive enough, then the proprietor or the trademark owner has to make modifications or amendments so that it will become distinctive, right? So imagine, right, if you have decided to actually register a trademark and then the registrar says, I'm sorry, this is not distinctive enough, then you can actually make modifications to the trademark so that it becomes distinctive. All right. Now, so how do you actually make a particular trademark distinctive? All right. So there are different degrees of distinctiveness. All right. And what are they? Sometimes it could be some fanciful words that are coined, but the word themselves does not have any meaning, such as Kodak. Okay, what does Kodak mean? There's no meaning to the word Kodak. But then, the business proprietor had come up with that name, and now the trademark or the trade name Kodak has become a world known name, all right? And therefore, it has become a valuable asset to the business. Okay. Now, sometimes if you're going to come up with a name which doesn't have a meaning, you have to do a lot of advertising, all right, so that consumers will associate that particular product with that particular, name, right? So sometimes, what do you call it? Common words can also become distinctive. All right. For example, maybe it has got nothing to do with the product, but that common word becomes associated with that particular product. For example, apple. Right? Apple is actually a fruit, but now people have associated the word apple with the the products produced, the IT products produced by the company. All right. And the other example is camel. All right. Now, camel is an animal, but then the word camel is now associated with cigarettes. So, again, you can see how common words become distinctive when they are associated with products in an arbitrary manner, like just one off. You say, I decide to call my cigarette camel. Why? We have no idea why. Perhaps there's some story behind it. But anyway, the word camel is now associated with cigarettes, and the word apple is associated with computers, right? Now, so these are examples of how common names become distinctive, right? Now, sometimes brand names have positive association with the product in the mind of the consumer, right? And sometimes, the sign is exclusively descriptive. But like if the sign is very descriptive, but then it's not distinctive, then it will not be registered as a trademark. That means there's a lot of details in it, in the name, but then it is not distinctive enough. It's not unique enough, right? Then it cannot be registered as a trademark. Right? Now, however, there are marks that are suggestive by association of the goods for which they are used, and of the nature, quality, and origin, or any other characteristics of those goods, without actually being descriptive. All right. Now, these marks are registrable. Now, you can take an example of the product Follow Me. Right. The originally, if you look at the name of the product Follow Me, they use it for shampoos. And if you remember the advertisement, it shows that this particular lady using the shampoo, and then guys are following her. All right. So that's an example of a product where they use the word follow me to suggest something, suggesting that if you use this particular product, people are going to follow you, right? Another example is facial cream, Fair and Lovely. They have advertisements which shows that if a particular person uses this particular facial cream, they're going to become fair and lovely, and then people are going to be attracted to you, for example. All right. So these are examples of how that name is suggestive of something. They're suggesting something to you, right? So therefore it becomes distinctive, right? Whether trademark is suggestive or descriptive of the goods applied for, right? The crucial question is whether it has acquired a secondary meaning, right? So, for example, when you look at the word Apple, automatically you think of iPad, you think of iPhones, you think of computers, and then you think of, depending on your experience, quality, right? Maybe it's a brand name now associated with prestige. Could be anything, right? So it has acquired a secondary meaning. So the Apple has now acquired a secondary meaning, meaning it's now associated with computers. Similarly, cigarettes, okay, camels, okay, the word, excuse me, camel has now got secondary meaning because it's associated with cigarettes. Okay, so all of these things show that a particular trademark has, acquired a secondary meaning. Right? Now, what would be unregisterable trademarks? Okay, these refer to trademarks which the authority will not register. Okay, and you find that under Section 23, subsection 1 of the Trademarks Act. Okay, so these are signs which are not capable of being represented graphically. So that means you cannot represent them in a graphic manner, or they're not capable of distinguishing goods or services. That means they don't have a distinguishing feature. So all trademarks that are devoid meaning without any distinctive character, right? And those which are exclusively signs or indications which may serve in trade to designate the kind, quality, quantity, intended purpose, value, geographic origin, or other characteristics of goods or services, or the time of production of goods or of rendering of services. All right. So that means these are signs or indications which may serve in trade to designate the kind. Maybe, let's say if you're going to produce a dress out of silk, you call it silk. All right. So it shows the kind, right? It's a kind. Quality, you want to say good dress or stylish dress. All right. That shows quality. Or quantity, you want to say plenty, just to show that it's a lot. And if you buy that, you're going to have a lot of quantity. So these kind of things are not allowed, right? Or a geographical origin. That means you want to use a particular, that particular product is coming from a particular place. Again, if there are other products that are coming from that place, then that is not going to be allowed, because it's not fair for one product to be associated with a particular geographical origin. Okay, so then also what will happen is, if it falls into the categories under Section 23, then the registrar is going to refuse the registration of the trademark. All right. And also under Section 24, if it is identical with an earlier trademark, the registrar is going to refuse to register a trademark. All right. Or if there's a likelihood of confusion on the part of the public, meaning public may confuse this product with another business's product or service. Okay, so then again, the registrar may, because maybe the trademark is too similar, right? So it could cause confusion. So therefore, the registrar will refuse trademark to be registered. Okay, so other grounds in which the trademark will not be registered: deceptive, right? For example, the name Orwula. All right, now this particular product may give the impression in the mind of the consumers that it is the product is made of wool, right? But actually, this product is applied to non-woolen goods. But if you use this name, maybe consumers may think that that product is made of wool. So therefore, it is deceptive. The other thing, like I said earlier, was if it is referring to a particular geographical region, but the goods do not come from that region. Earlier, remember, we said you cannot register a trademark related to a particular region. But this one is with regards to using the name of a particular place, but the goods are not coming from that place. So, for example, if I'm going to produce wine and I call it something like, well, where does wine come from? Now suddenly the place doesn't come to my mind. But let's just say it comes from a certain city in France, right? But actually, it's produced in Malaysia. So they're not going to allow that, because people who buy the wine may think it's coming from France. So definitely, if the goods do not come from that region, they won't allow you to use that name. Signs contrary to morality or public policy. Maybe some pictures that are, obscene, or some pictures that may be contrary to religious, religious values, and so on and so forth. that may not be allowed, all right? And any signs that have been reserved for international organization like Red Cross or public institution, that will not be allowed, okay? Now, so summary, right? Function of trademark: origin, indication, a distinctiveness, quality, advertising, and economic function. Duration of trademark protection, 10 years, and then renewable thereof. And registration, when a person registers, then automatically it shows that you are the trademark owner. It's proof that you are the trademark owner, and then you have the exclusive rights to use that trademark in relation to that particular goods or services or class of goods or services. All right. Now, the protection of any trademark, all right, is, if you don't renew it, it will fall into disuse. That means if you don't renew it, automatically it will not be part of the register, right? And then it becomes part of the public domain, right? Remember, in patents, the patent protection is for 20 years, and then after 20 years, it falls into the public domain. But in the case of trademark, you could continue to renew it every 10 years, right? And you can retain that trademark for your business. But the moment you do not renew it, then it falls into disuse, and then it becomes part of a public domain. Other than trademark, using trademark to protect your product, you can also bring an action through passing off. And now this was originally available under common law cases. All right. So what's the meaning of passing off? Normally, if somebody is imitating your product, or coming up with products that look very closely or very similar to your product, or they're using trademarks that are very similar to yours, with the intention of passing it off as your business's product, then you can actually bring an action under common law called passing off. That means you are going to sue the other person for infringing your trademark, uh, by claiming that this particular business is trying to pass off their products as your product. Okay, so that's called passing off, right? So you can either, if you've registered your trademark, you can either bring an action under the Trademarks Act, or you can bring an action under passing off. All right. That is, if, say, for example, you haven't registered your trademark, but you have been using that particular trademark for a long time, and you can actually bring an action under passing off. Okay, so that is a protection, all right? Now, what is the limitation of normally trademarks, right? Normally it is territorial. That means there is no global protection, all right? So you only get protection for, trademark in the, should I say, jurisdictions in which you have registered the trademark. But now with, what do you call it, international conventions such as Madrid Protocol, when you register in a country which is, part of the Madrid Protocol, automatically it gets protection under other member countries who are also part of the Madrid Protocol, right? Now, so that's the first limitation. Normally, if your country is not part of that protocol or convention, then your trademark will only be protected in your country. Therefore, it is territorial, right? So another limitation is if you register your trademark for a product, that trademark is only protected for that particular product, all right, or for similar products, but not for different category of products or different category of services. So, for example, if I, register the name Hilton for a hotel, that means the trademark Hilton is only protected for hotel services. Other businesses that are doing hotel services. Right, so that means if I want to come up with a shoe called Hilton, then I can do that. It won't be a trademark infringement. And the other thing is, it is not allowed to be used in the course of trade. Okay, so that means that basically you have to register it for you to get protection. It cannot be some name that you are using in the course of trade, unless, of course, you've used it for a very long time. Right. So, because of the global nature of commerce today, you have to register your trademark. Just because you use it in your business, you will not get automatic protection, right? Unless you've been using it for a very long time and people know your particular trademark in that particular jurisdiction. Okay. Now we come to the topic of trademark issues in cyberspace. So you all have had a groundwork or foundation on what is trademark and the function of trademark and what kind of trademarks uh, are protected under the law. And what happens when you register a trademark? It becomes a property right, and then the trademark owner has got exclusive rights to use that trademark and also exclusive rights to authorize others to use that trademark. Okay, so that's basically the basics of trademark law. Now we're going to look at the use of trademarks in cyberspace, right? So, what are the issues that you see in cyberspace in the context of trademark? Okay, so the first thing is going to be on domain names, right? So, say for example, you've got the trademark Coca Cola, right? Can somebody register a domain name called Coca Cola even though they are not involved in, doing any kind of business in that area? All right, can they actually register a domain name Coca Cola even though they're not involved in that business? All right, or basically use that name uh, for what do you call it? Non-commercial dealings, right? The next area of trademark issues, what you call meta tags. We are going to look at that, right? And then keywords and banner advertisements, because normally, remember, when we want to search something, we put keywords, right? Normally, the keywords would take us to certain websites, right? So those are keywords, right? Banner advertisements, like in the internet, you've got banner advertisements. Then you also have trademark infringement in the context of spam. You know what spam is, right? You've got this unsolicited, email where people are trying to promote their products. Now, when it is an unsolicited email, it will be categorized as spam, right? And then the other thing is linking websites without authorization, right? So these are the different trademark issues in cyberspace. Now, if you look at online trademark disputes, most common types of online disputes involve domain names, right? So, domain names basically are businesses by companies entering into e-business, and they're trying to have an online web presence. So, basically, if you want to do business in the cyberspace, you need to choose a domain name for your business. All right. So this domain name is going to be associated with your e-business and will help you to establish an online web presence. So, for example, if you look at the publisher Malayan Law Journal, they've got the domain name www.mlj. MLJ stands for Malayan Law Journal.com.my. So the word MLJ is associated with Malayan Law Journal. So that has become a domain name, all right, which is actually a business address on the internet, all right? Now, so domain names, the functions of domain names are very different from the function of trademarks. Although both have got business value, but both have got different functions in businesses, right? So basically, if you look at domain names, they constitute an address of your business in cyberspace. So normally people try to come up with user-friendly addresses which represent the internet protocol number. It's like your house address, all right? Your house address is going to be how people identify where you live. So similarly, your domain name is going to be the address of your business in cyberspace, right? So when you look at this My Nick, you will see that they've got first level, second level, third level internet domain names. So if you look at an e-business, when an e-business chooses a domain name, you have to also keep in mind it may have certain trademark considerations. So that means a domain name may have a quasi trademark rule or sort of a trademark rule, although not directly a trademark rule, but then it may have a semi trademark rule. All right. So, therefore, when you choose domain names, you have to carefully consider the names you're going to choose. Okay, I will play this video which will show you what is a domain name and that will help you understand a little better.
What's up, Internet? Today I'm going to be explaining what is a domain name and a little bit about how a domain name works. You're probably here because you're looking to start a website, or maybe you're just sick of watching videos of kids yodeling in Walmart and you want to learn something new. Either way, my name is Dale, and welcome to Create a Pro Website. So, in the simplest terms, a domain name is just the address to your website. So think of the internet as a vast map full of avenues and streets and turns everywhere. And think of your website as your house. In order for anyone to find their way to your house, even you, you'll need an address. This address is your domain name. Every website has an IP, and an IP is just a seemingly random string of numbers. So when you register and purchase a domain name, it's almost like saving your home address as home into your phone. It gives that IP address a simple, easy to remember name that anyone can type in and get to your website. This is because it would be really difficult to remember a random string of numbers every time you want to go to apple.com or Nike or whatever it may be. Let's say createaprowebsite.com. You can remember that. It's simple. Rather than 66.134.299. I made that up. Like, how are you supposed to buy an Apple Watch with that? So let's say that you type in createaprowebsite.com. Whenever you hit enter, your computer sends a request to a bunch of servers that make up the DNS. And DNS just stands for Domain Name System. This domain name system looks up the correct IP address and just points your computer into the right direction, all within less than a millisecond. Wow, the internet is a magical place. So that's what a domain name is and a little bit about how it works. So if you'd like to purchase a domain name because you're going to say, start a new website for your new business or a portfolio or a blog or whatever it might be, I will put a link in the description below this video where you can do exactly that for very cheap. So check it out. And before you go, every new subscriber and like that I get on this video helps my tiny, humble channel.
Okay, so you can see how this person has very entertainingly explained what a domain name is. Now, so you can see it is very easy to register a domain name. And because it is easy to register a domain name, there are so many, companies that are trying to capture the advantages of doing business online, and they register domain names to have an online presence, and therefore there is a sorry a proliferation of companies online. All right. So what happens is that the consumers are going to get confused with trademarks and domain names, right? So basically, consumers, unless you're really, really very well versed in this, they will get confused with trademarks and domain names. Okay. So the brand name, as you know, is the goodwill of a business. So what is a goodwill? Goodwill meaning it covers the reputation of the business. It covers, the whole range of things that goes with goodwill, like customers, lots of customers that a particular brand name has, and all of those things. All right. So basically, if you look at a brand name, it is a goodwill of a business, and basically the goodwill of a business also has legal protection, right? So when you talk about goodwill, all right, it talks about rights, legal rights, or equitable rights, right? So basically, if you look at the goodwill of a business, that's going to be the right, equitable right of a business, as opposed to legal right, because these are things that are associated with, say, quality, reputation, which directly there is no value, but then indirectly it becomes the goodwill of a business. All right. So therefore, it's a right in equity as opposed to what do you call it? Legal right. Huh? Okay. Now, so if you look at domain name trademarks, okay, trademarks give exclusive rights, territorial, it is related to a particular goods or service, right? And it is subject to the trademark law, but not domain names. All right. So internet does not recognize these features that a trademarks have, such as territoriality, such as that it is has to be connected to a particular goods or services, and so on and so forth. So the internet domain name system does not recognize the same things that a trademark law recognizes, right? So it doesn't have the same boundaries. So therefore, registration of domain names is entirely different from registration of trademark. It doesn't have to be distinctive. It doesn't have to be in relation to a particular goods or service. All right. It's very simple. Registration of domain names is on the basis of first come, first serve basis. All right. So it's very simple. Right. So domain name has got nothing to do with trademarks. Right now, where will you register a domain name? You go to a organization that is based in the United States called Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or in short, they call it ICANN, right? And this is a non-profit organization, all right? And basically, they are the ones that are managing the domain name system, and they took over from Network Solutions Incorporated that first set up that system. All right. And basically, this organization gives you the top level domain name, such as what do you call it? .com, .net, .org. So basically, if you are going to register your business and you want the top level domain name, then you go to ICANN and you register, right? So basically, this company ICANN, all right, this organization has got 11 new independent companies it has authorized to actually register domain name in different countries, right? So basically, you've got these companies that are now dealing with domain name registrars in different countries. All right. So basically, these companies, right, these 11 companies, they are going to be involved in the registration of the second level domain name, okay, given on the first come, first serve basis, right? So that's basically, first level is going to be .org, .net, so on, right? Second level domain name is things like MLJ, Malayan Law Journal, right? So that will be given to the registrar and the companies that are given the task of registering the second level domain name. Now, if you look at the application of trademark law in domain name disputes, and how the connection of trademark with domain name dispute has come about, there are several areas of disputes, all right? One is called cyber squatting and typo squatting, all right? The next is what you call competing use, all right? I will go into this in the next lecture. The other is called non-competing use. Again, I will go into the next lecture about it, right? And then you have what you call a reverse domain name hijacking. So you not only hijack planes and hijack, those kind of objects, but you can also hijack domain name, all right? And then you have got using a particular trademark for the purposes of free speech, product commentary, or parody. All right. Again, I will discuss this in the next class. All right. So these are going to be the different disputes relating to trademark that you see in the internet. And I will go into it in detail in the next class. All right. So with that, I will stop the lecture for today and we'll continue in the next class. Okay. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.